Today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the chessboard. Now, if you look at the chessboard, you're going to notice that there are a series of lowercase letters along the edges, as well as numbers along the edges of the chessboard. Now, there are 64 squares on the board, and we're going to talk about each of those squares in just a second. But what happens if you're sitting down and you notice that your chessboard does not have letters and numbers on it? Well, most likely you are playing on a casual style chessboard. Usually this happens when you're playing against a family member or a relative or friends. The next question actually happens is what happens if I'm playing on a board and the squares are black and red? Well, actually that is not a chessboard. That's a checkerboard. And chess is very different than checkers and a lot more fun. So let's get into this. You'll notice the series of lowercase letters A through H on this side and A through H on this side. We call those lowercase letters, which make up our columns, which run up and down. We can refer to these as files. So this is our file of B. Here's the C file. Here's the D file. And it continues on until we get to the H file. Now notice that we have the numbers 1 through 8 on this side and 1 through 8 on the other side. Now the numbers which run left and right make up what we call rows, and these rows we can refer to as ranks. So this is the second rank, this is the third rank, this is the fourth rank, and it continues on until we reach the 8th rank, which is located right over here. Now, why is this important? It's important because we need to identify each square. You'll notice that throughout the chess club classes, events, tournaments, whenever a chess instructor is talking or the student or the teachers are talking, we will always be speaking in coordinates. And how do we get a coordinate? Now, a coordinate is an individual square. So I'm going to place this red star right at a coordinate. Now, if we were to say the name of this square, it has a first and last name. We always say the file first, followed by the rank. So right now, this red star is located at coordinate A1. If I were to move the red star, let's put it right over here, it would be at coordinate F4. Now, how did I get that? Well, first we looked at the F file. Here's the F file. Then we looked at the fourth rank, which is located right here. And where it crosses or intersects would be that coordinate. And right over here, we can see that it is F4. I'll do a couple more. Over here is C7. Over here is E3. And one more. Over here is G7. Now, in order to get really good at this game, it's very important for us to master 3 main lines. These lines are going to be consistent through all of the games. So memorize these lines, familiarize yourself with these lines, and look for opportunities along these particular lines. Now the first main line is a line right over here which runs horizontally or up and down. These are our vertical lines. So here's a vertical line of B, vertical line of C, vertical line of D, and it obviously is running along the files all the way to H. So there's our first main line. Now the second main line is horizontal, and here are our horizontal lines. Our horizontal lines, you'll notice, just run right along the ranks. So on the rank of 2, we've got a horizontal line. You can see that line there. Here's the rank of 3. The rank of 4, and it continues on. You can go to the rank of 6 and the rank of 8. So those are our first 2 main lines, and the last main line is actually a diagonal line. So this is what diagonal looks like. This would be a diagonal line. Now notice that the red line kind of cuts right through the 2 white squares at coordinate B1 and A2. There's a diagonal line there, and I'll put one right along the black square. So we've got a diagonal line at C1, B2, and A3. I'll do a couple more. Here's one at G1 and H2. Here is a one that goes from B1 and continues all the way until it ends at H7. Now our two longest diagonal lines happen to be right over here. Here's one of them. It starts at A1 and it continues through and ends at H8. So you can see that diagonal line along the black squares. And our next longest diagonal line, right over here, starts at H1 and continues all the way to A8. Now it's worth noting, make sure that you understand those three lines. They're going to be extremely important whenever you're playing this game of chess. The other thing that's important, and you must make sure that you do this, is whenever you're sitting down to play against an opponent, you want to make sure that the files are facing you. So when you're playing against an opponent, make sure that those lowercase letters are facing you. So to quickly recap, number one, the lowercase letters are called files. The numbers 1 through 8 on each side, we're going to call those ranks. We use the system of files and ranks in order to name an individual square, which we call those squares a coordinate. There's 64 coordinates on a chessboard. There's three main lines we want to familiarize ourselves with in order to become really excellent at this game, and those are our vertical lines, which run along the files, and the horizontal lines, which run along the ranks, and also we want to familiarize ourselves with diagonal lines. And the last thing, and really, really important, is whenever we sit down to play a game of chess, we want to make sure that the files or lowercase letters are facing us. Well, that's it for this lesson. If you have any questions, please feel free to talk to your chess instructor. We're more than happy. We're pleased to hear all of the questions that you have. The second thing you can do is also send a question and just post it right here on this page, and we'll respond to you as soon as possible. Until then, have a great time and have fun playing chess.